Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all-around good guy, Ted Fells.
Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I don't know, Ted. This is different. This is a different Monday, man. I feel like there's something we need to announce. There's some type of accomplishment that we need to put out there.
Please share, Eric. Please share.
We have just exceeded 500,000 downloads on the 30-minute hour.
Would you look at that? Man. See, this is when you get to that point that you really don't have to call your family members every week and ask them if they're going to listen to the show. You remember that? But hey, man, hey, Mom, can you check out the show? I got something else to do, Ted. I got something else to do. When you're at this type of them, when you're starting getting 500,000, that means there's a bunch of people you don't know. So we like to thank all of you all that have been checking us out and downloading and helping this show. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Again, we certainly appreciate you listening. We appreciate you sharing the show. And we appreciate the fact that you'll continue to listen. And we'll continue to work to bring you some great content. Speaking of great content, tonight we're going to talk about the hidden secrets to growing a 7-figure business.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot on today's episode. What you saying, Ted?
I was just want to say, ooh-wee, you about to get something good tonight. You about to get something good.
Absolutely. And one of the questions, is, sometimes you see people, they just take off really fast. And they hit 7 figures or high 6 figures. And then for others, it doesn't happen that way. So that's one of the questions Jim will be able to answer for us. But you definitely want to fasten your seatbelt. If you're looking to scale your business and being able to exit on your terms, whatever that looks like, this is really the show for you that you want to tune into. But by the way, this is not your everyday podcast.
Nope.
Yeah, we do things a little different. And I do think, Ted, that our guest today is starting to understand that. We were talking backstage about some things, and yeah. I think he gets this. This is going to be a different experience. We do things differently.
Oh, yeah.
Here on the 30-minute hour. But you can always watch us live. Appreciate those of you that are logging on right now. You can watch us live on the Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. You just go to type in the 30-minute hour, and there you'll find us. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all of those great places. All right. So let's get this party started. This is going to be some great information. The hidden secrets to growing a 7-figure business. So our guest, he's helped businesses grow and scale efficiently and effectively using systems and processes. He's the COO of Empire Operating System, and he's a business coach who's worked with over 100 different organizations in many different industries. He helps business owners grow from concept to profitability, to growing and scaling efficiently and effectively, to exiting their businesses one day. So please join me in welcoming to the 30-minute hour podcast, Jim Tannehill.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric. Thanks, Ted. Thank you to all the listeners. I'm very excited to, we had good conversation backstage, which is great. Usually, y'all don't get to see into that, but man, these are some great guys doing some big things, and I'm honored to be on this podcast. After announcing your 500,000 downloads, what a great accomplishment. You started back in 2019, and that's a huge accomplishment. So kudos to y'all for building out this community and helping a lot of people.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, and I agree with you. Just the conversation backstage, I was tempted to say, we just need to be quiet. We got to stop talking because we want to share this. We want to save this for the upcoming episode here.
Yep.
So now, definitely, as a listener and watching her, you're in for a treat of some of the things that Jim is going to share just from his background and working with all these different entrepreneurs. So let's give people some backdrop. So, like, how did your entrepreneurial journey begin?
Yeah, so it was about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. I was a project manager for we started a company. We did fix and flips in Northwest Indiana for a couple years. I did about 30 to 40 houses a year for a couple years, and then from there I got into commercial construction and became a project manager there. We built out Smoothie Kings, Jimmy John's, Arby's, Subways. Oversaw a lot of that, and then so I worked for somebody there, but I worked as kind of in a visionary role, kind of help grow that company to a certain level. And then in 2020 is where I really jumped back into entrepreneurship, and kind of on my own got my real estate license, and was focused on commercial and multifamily investment properties. And then I came across Empire, the curriculum. I got in touch with the owners and started coaching using the curriculum. I saw it. I was like, oh my goodness. Back in 2021, when I saw it, it had been 9 years. I was, man, I wish I knew this 9 years ago. It would have saved me a lot of, a lot of mistakes were made on my part just from not knowing. And I saw, so I'm like, man, everybody needs to know this. So, yeah, started my journey with them. Built out a couple companies for them using their operating system, and then they asked me to become the COO. And I've been blessed beyond measure to be able to do this and to be able to help people at a much larger scale.
Awesome. So I'm just curious, like if you could go back, because we have people that are just starting out, right? They're just beginning their entrepreneurial journey. So, like, if you could go back to when you were first starting out, what advice would you give to yourself based off of what you know now?
Yeah. Some advice I give myself is, ask questions. Not just from the people in your business, but from the experts around it. What I thought were problems that were unique to me and struggles that were unique to our business. Come to find out, they're not. They're not just unique to me, not just unique to our business. There's people struggling. And there's going to be people in any industry that aren't going to be as helpful. But for the most part, people are looking to help. And to me, what's really been emphasized and what I really come away with is collaboration is the key, one of the keys to success. There's a quote that I know. It goes somewhat like this, faster alone but farther together. And man, was I good at that fast alone? Yeah, of course. But then I look around, I'm like, oh, but now I got to bring everybody up to speed, or I don't have anyone here to enjoy this kind of success with. So, and that collaboration is crucial. So if I were to go back and talk to myself, that'd be one of the most important things I tell myself is don't be afraid to ask for help. And the problems you're struggling with they're not unique. Somebody else has gone through that, and find out how they got through there.
It's interesting that I think that that's a common struggle. And a part of it is because I said on the show before, I think sometimes your greatest strength can be your greatest weakness, right?
Yeah.
Your strength is you started as an entrepreneur because you take the bull by the horn. You take initiative. You figure things out. You don't wait for somebody to tell you to do something. So it can almost be perceived as a sign of weakness if you have the wrong mindset to ask for help.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it's not, it's it's that, and I think part of it is social media and the perception on social media. We see these people that build all this persona, and they talk about their success and their growth, but what they don't talk about is kind of the roadmap how they got there. What I realize is that a lot of successful companies, they have consultants or coaches or people or advisors or board advisors, something in that essence, to where I thought back then, if I were going to ask for that, man, people are not going to think I know what I'm talking about, or they're not going to take me seriously, or and just so many things were wrong with my perception. Right? It wasn't reality. People are always asking for help and always looking to help. So just to maybe more of a pride issue, because when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I was 21, a young 21-year-old that knew everything. And my maybe it was my part. I would say part of it was my pride not allowing me to ask for help, because I felt like if I asked for help, it's a sign of weakness, and it's not. It's really, it is a sign of strength. It's knowing, hey, I'm weak in this area. I need to strengthen this up. I need to ask for help. So it's actually the reverse. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of, awareness, a sign of a perspective, and a sign of strength to know that I need help in this area. I don't have it all together.
Good. Yeah, definitely. And Ted and Ted, I welcome your feedback. Ted and I were talking about this earlier on our Thank God It's Monday episode. Like, if you look at football, let's say you run a 4.6 in the 40 and you want to get faster. The best way to do that is to find a group where they're running a 4.3.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to pick up on things. You're going to pick up on little details and little habits that the people running a 4.3 have, and you'll start to improve your time as well. Ted, kind of speak on that, because I mean, you partner all the time and you collaborate, you seek mentors. Talk about that, Ted.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a key thing to do. When I first started my company, I met with several business owners that were at the level that I wanted to be at, and just asked them just for some of their time, just to tell me about their journey. And one thing most people don't mind doing is talking about themselves. Right? So you're like, look,
You're not wrong.
Going to ask them for some business is one thing, ask them for some money, but to say, hey, can I just get a little bit of time to hear your story? Oh, they'll gladly share it. And what I found out after talking to, a handful of business owners is there were some things that they all kind of did that were the same. And so that kind of helped create like a checklist for me of things to do. And so, yeah, definitely you want to reach out to people and get mentors and advisors and all of that. And, I think some people, they just they don't want anybody telling them what to do, right? That's another thing, right? Like, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people go into business. I'm tired of people telling me what to do, right? So
you're not the boss of me.
You're not the boss of me. So I'm going to go ahead and start this on my own, right? But I mean, it doesn't hurt to get some, some input from some people, because it doesn't mean that you actually have to do it, but it does give you some stuff to consider. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of good information that you can get out there, and not just some book information, but some actual information for some people that have actually gone through some things. And yeah.
And I love how you said that. People they love to talk about themselves, and that's a great way to look at it, because at the end of the day, you get to have those conversations. Success leaves clues. Like, all you have to do is pick up on the different things that they're all that everyone has a similar. Hey, this is the path that I took. If you just pick up on those clues, like, you're right. That it's funny, but it's true. We love to talk about ourselves.
Love to talk about them. So it's funny. I've gone to events. I think I've shared this with Eric, where you have a group of companies, right? And let's say all these companies are getting together for the purpose of finding ways to collaborate. Well, as soon as someone says, okay, I want each of you to stand up and introduce yourself and your company and tell us something about yourself, my head just drops. Because once that starts, and by the time they go around that room, that period of time is almost gone. Because everyone loves to talk about themselves and tell their story. So,
yep.
No, that's good stuff. And one of my goals for the near future is I want to find a group where I am the complete slacker in the group. That's my goal. I want to leave the meetings feeling like, man, I got to get it together.
What is wrong with me?
This is embarrassing. I got to get it together.
Right. That's right.
That's what I want. But I know if I can find that group, I know I'll continue to get better.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you approach it the right way, I don't want people, I know people don't want to take that, hey, I'm going to lower my level. No, I'm up at my level, and while I'm up at my level, I'm going to be the lowest person on the totem pole. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Being some of the people in the room, like, man, I'd love to be, there's a room that I get to be in called Power Room that is in like the ecosystem of we're owned by a private equity firm, and those are some, man, talk about feeling like the slacker in the room. I feel that sometimes. I'm like, but this is a good room. This is the growth room, and I love it. So that's a great perspective.
That's the place you want to be, Eric, is the growth room. Right. Tell you something, it's for real in the growth room.
They're not playing with you in the growth
maybe
room.
let's start a growth room together.
Yeah, there
Live
you go.
right now. Let's put one
Exactly.
together. Oh man.
Sure.
I love you guys.
So, and I'm sure, so Jim, I know people, they see you now and the successes and how you've helped people, but I'm curious to know, like what's something that was hard for you when you first started that even today is still hard for you?
Yeah, something that I continue to work on is like my communication. It's people here. I'm responsible for what people do. Their perspective on things. If I don't give clear instructions, or I'm not telling them, hey, this is where we're going, or not communicating correctly, like, and that's something that I struggle with. Just kind of slow down and understand uh, what I'm saying and what people are saying back to me, because I've got I can see, I'm a pretty decent visionary. I like being independent. I can see where things are going, and to be able to articulate that all the way down to everybody, that's been a challenge. And it's not, because we'll bring an idea to the table, and people aren't trying to be negative or dismissive. They just want to know, hey, I see that you see the growth, 3 to 5 years down the road, but what does that mean? What does that mean for me today? And to be able to understand, like, that's where they're coming from, and they're not trying to be argumentative most of the time, and understand, hey, I need to break this down into their language, to their understanding, so they know what I'm saying. Like, that's something that I work on constantly all the time, because language, I heard this quote the other day from a book that I'm listening to on Audible, but language is the cheapest and the easiest way to evoke action. And but we don't use it to its full potential, because if we do, then man, we'd be so much more productive. Because if you think about it, in your organization, people aren't doing tasks, or they're not completing tasks because they're doing that because a common language was spoken to them, and they were able to understand it, and they were able to produce. So if your people aren't producing, it might be a language issue, to where a communication issue, to where are you communicating it in the way that they need it done? Well, I'm saying it the way that I've said it 10 times. Well, that's why it hasn't been done all 10 times, because it's not the way that they need to be told.
You know, and we've talked about this here recently, Ted, and feel free to chime in, but most of the companies that I've been around, people I'm working with, communication is an issue. I would say most of the time. And one of the reasons I think it's an issue is because I think we don't recognize the fact that communication is the responsibility of the sender, right? So I don't care how well you think you communicated it. If the message isn't getting through, you have to look in the mirror, right?
Yep.
And I think that gets missed. So if people aren't getting the message that you're communicating, you have to revisit how you're communicating it.
Yeah.
I welcome your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I always tell people communication, is transmitting and receiving, right? So if you transmitting, like you said, Eric, and you're talking, that person's not receiving it, they're not getting it. That's why it's so important to look at someone, right, when you're talking to them, right? Because you can see them. If they got a perplexed look on their face, it's probably because they're perplexed, right?
That could be it, right?
Yeah, that could be it. And a lot of times people, they don't want to say that they don't understand something. So sometimes, I feel like I will really simplify something, right? And I'd much rather you say, Jim, Ted, I'm not dumb, than for you to be shaking your head and I think you got it, and then later I'm like, I thought you had it.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I did too. So yeah, so I think you definitely, like you said, Eric, it comes down to the sender. You got to make sure that message is getting through, no matter what it is.
Yeah, something that I hear is that I adhere by is their perception is my reality. So it's, if they perceive it somewhat a different way, it's my fault for not communicating correctly. I don't know if y'all are Office fans, but I think of the episode where Jim Halpert, I forget they have a new boss come in. He asks him to do a rundown of his client list, and the entire episode Jim's like trying to figure out, what does this rundown look like? I'm not working too hard on it. Like, it just totally correlates and ties in. It's something that's simple to that boss, that manager, of getting a rundown of his client list. Took somebody the entire, and I know obviously it's a comedy, but took somebody the entire day to figure out what that actually meant. And of course it's a comedy, but it's partly true in our businesses. Like we'll ask somebody what we think is a very simple task. Hey, can you perform this? And they spend so much time wasting time trying to figure out what you actually said instead of us communicating it clearly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, I mean, communication, it's always a challenge, and just really making sure the message is getting through and just being open to changing your communication style as needed, meeting people where they are. So good. I think we just helped an entrepreneur who's going to commit to taking ownership of how they're communicating so the message is getting through. So you're the COO of Empire Operating Systems and you're a business coach. So describe for us your ideal client and then tell us how you help them.
Yeah, so our ideal client is literally anybody with a business from a single person startup all the way to that person that's Fortune 500 or looking to sell, exit their business, pass it on to the next generation, whatever that looks like. We're in a lot of different verticals. We're in real estate. We have real estate investment clients. We have solar panel companies. We have pistachio companies, recording studios. So we literally work and fit with just about any. We haven't found a vertical that we don't like, right? That we don't fit in, and it's because of these specifics of the framework that we've helped provide. Like there's specific framework that we've built. If you allow me to, I'll tell you a brief story how Empire was founded and kind of connect the dots that way. So our CEO is his name's Eddie Wilson. A couple years ago, he had 86 businesses and over 4,000 employees. And he was using a bunch of different operating systems to help grow his business. Now, you'll never hear us say anything negative about any other operating system. They're all great. If you have an operating system, like please use it. That's important because a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't even have that. But what he would find is he became an expert in all these different operating systems because he kept hitting a ceiling in all of his different companies. So what he did was he took all the good pieces they liked from those operating systems and he built Empire. And in 2019, he was able to exit 76 of them for $1 billion plus in revenue. Now, that's not all to say. Obviously, that's not all just because of the operating system, right? He's a very smart guy and has done a lot of phenomenal things, but that played a crucial piece into growing and scaling his business. And when Empire came out, it really wasn't to help other businesses. Eddie wrote it as a legacy for his kids, so they would know, hey, this is how you grow. This is how I became successful. This is how I did what I do. And what he found out was after he did that, got kind of bored. He started help coaching companies, and he kept referring to that. Well, that's how I built my empire, and that's where the need for the product came about. So that's kind of the backstory on Empire and why it was founded. But yeah, we really help. We provide a framework, and what really makes us different is that we provide that framework to where we'll come and meet your company where they're at and help take you to where you want to go. Where these other operating systems, they say, hey, you've got to do steps 1 through 10. And we look at it and like, okay, you're pretty good. We'll do step 1. Looks like you're good on 2 and 3, so we'll circle back to that. But let's help you on 5 and 6. And we really just provide that framework to help you be successful. And we don't force that company to fit into our system. We mold our system around that company. We've worked with over 1,000 clients, with all our different coaches, things like that. And there's not a single one that's been exactly the same, even though we've worked in very similar verticals, very similar companies. But it's because we allow our system to mold and fit what that company needs and not force that company to fit what our system says.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, I'm curious, do you ever get the feedback like, yeah, but you don't understand. My business is different. My area is different. My customers are different. Do you ever get that?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. And we try to combat that with data and with knowledge and to really because what I'm hearing is that there's a couple things that I hear that way. We just worked with a company a couple weeks ago to where it was more of a hero or a savior complex, if you will, right? So they were like, well, if I step out of these roles, that I can't. I have to be in these roles. And so then we asked him, we're like, well, do you believe you hired good people? And he said, well, yeah, I hired the best people. So, and then we said, well, if the company fails and goes under today, if you hired good people, are they going to be able to find another opportunity tomorrow? Like, oh yeah, they're great. They'll have 5, 10 different offers. I'm like, okay, well then, if you hired that great of people, allow them to be great and remove yourself and step out of that role. So there's a lot of different fears and fences and guards that are up that we work to combat, and we talk through, like, we need to change our mindset a little bit, because that's not truth. That's what you're choosing to believe to be true. But if you really truly believe that you hire the best people, you've got the best team, then sometimes the best thing we can do is to get out of our own way and allow them to produce.
Oh man, that's a hard thing.
It is. It's hard. It's very, obviously a lot easier said than done, but
Yeah, that's
it's
tough. Tim.
with it.
That's tough. I had a person one time, and don't judge me. Don't judge me. Don't
I
judge me.
won't.
Just no judgment zone.
Not at
But
all.
I had a person working for me years ago. She came on. She had probably been working for me maybe less than 45. She said, Ted, she said, do you trust that the people that you hire can do, whatever this is that you got them to do? And I said, no, I don't trust. I don't trust. I mean, I seen the resume. Resume looks good. Good credentials. You gave me some references, some people that you knew was going to say some nice stuff about you, right? And whoever gives you a bad reference, right? And then, your education and other credentials, they are what they are, and then you interview well. Now, trust is going to happen like as I start to see some things and you start doing some things. Like I have like a couple employees that have worked for me for years, and they'll call me, Ted, can you look at this? Can you look? And I don't need to look at it because I know you. And I know what you're going to do, and I know you've done it time and time again, and that trust is established. So you get a job like right off the street, and you come in. I mean, it's just going to take me a minute to be able to truly trust.
Yeah. And I agree. And a way that we help, and I'm sure you got it down now, but a way that we help business owners and people like that, when they're in that situation, is we have a form, and it's called 3 areas of approval, and it's the far left column says, do it, don't tell me, uh, ask me before you do it, and then don't ever do it until we talk. And everyone, that person that you're talking about, would start off in the don't do it until we talk, but eventually in 90 days, you're going to see things shifting over a column, then over a column. And that's how we help them. Hey, if you believe you hired right, you believe you got the right person, let's start with this. There are 3 areas of approval, and let's start moving them over each quarter. If it's not moving over at all, then maybe we made a mistake and we didn't hire correctly.
Yeah.
So that's a way that that's with that, because we do hear that. And that's something that we use. That tool we use to combat them. Like, hey, if you did hire right, this document will show you. If you didn't, stuff's going to stay stagnant. It's not going to move over, and then you probably don't have the right person.
No, that's good. So yeah, I mean, the entrepreneur that's watching us now, you need Jim in your life to help you scale and kind of resolve some of these things that we tend to struggle with here in business. Some things are simple but not easy, right? It's simple to say, yeah, you got to delegate, replace yourself, but it's not always that easy. That's why it helps to have a Jim in your life. I know, in just doing some background research for this interview, you talk about the 5 phases of business. I thought that was fascinating. Can you, 2-part question? Can you explain what the 5 phases of business are and why it's important for the entrepreneur to know what phase they're in?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the 5 phases are startup, perseverance, viability, scale, and succession. And the importance of finding out, and I'll start. So startup, I'll read you what we have for start. For startup, we say you've not started, or you're just starting the business, been in business probably for less than a year. What we recommend in the startup phase is that you start up with a predetermined amount of time and predetermined amount of money, because if you don't, you get 4 years down the road and you're like, man, where did all my money, all my time go to? So you want to make sure that you have that in place. For example, one of the companies that I was able to start before I became CEO of Empire it was a direct mail company. I was given all the information. They said, Jim, you got 12 weeks to make this company profitable, or we're going to look to see where it's at, and we might need to shut it down. So I took that challenge, and I was able to do it, and that company's still thriving and growing today. But they told me, and they were dead serious. They said, hey, your clock starts on this date. we've got till this date, but you've got to you've got to treat it, oh, it might just be a side hustle or this or that, but you've got to take it seriously. Otherwise, you're going to be down the road and still be in startup mode and be out so much time and money and effort that you don't realize. So that's the startup phase. Perseverance, we talk about. You've been profitable for more than 2 quarters, less than 60 days of operating costs. You don't really have an operating procedure in place. But perseverance, this is the phase that Gary Vee talked about, the grind, right? This is where you're really putting that time and effort. You don't want to be in perseverance for very long. Like it's not a fun stage to be in, but we all get to go through it. We don't want to elongate it. The way we kind of get out of perseverance is we really get processes and systems in place, because that will really help you identify this is what we're doing and how to grow and get you through. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that get you through perseverance, but that's one of the major things. And then viability, we become profitable through our performance. And that's after we get our process documented. We have a systemized way of this is how we do this. This is how we grow and scale our business. You have your monthly operating expenses covered with profit for 6 months. You have an operating system that you're running at near close to 100%. And then you have all the right people in the right seats. You have all your key roles hired and trained. And in perseverance, usually what we find out in startup companies is that you have your brother running your finance, or your aunt or somebody like that who might not be qualified to get you into viability. And that's the biggest difference there, is understanding that, to getting you to viability. There's a quote that we I can't remember who says it, but you probably are familiar with it. And it goes, the people that got you here won't get you there. And that's through growth. And that doesn't mean, like, I don't want people to hear that and think, oh man, this guy's out to cut jobs and to get rid of me. It's not that. It's, you have the opportunity to grow and become the person that can help take you there. Or, sometimes there is turnover because some people aren't cut out to do that. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but that gets you into viability. And then when you go to scale, we want you to scale with a purpose, right? So many people, that part of business is so glamorized. Everyone thinks, oh, it's so beautiful and fun to scale your business. It's massive action and monster growth. But what we don't realize, and what people don't talk about, is when you go to scale, you're really going back into perseverance. You've got predetermined amount of time. You're all that money, the profits that you were used to just putting in the bank, you're reinvesting into your people or your product or into your marketing to help you grow and scale. And we just got to be careful and understand, hey, you shouldn't just do that. If it's not your calling, if you don't have that purpose to do it, it might not be a good idea for you. There's a lot of businesses that I've seen where people go to scale just because that's the trend. Everyone's like, oh, build a 10x. I love Grant Cardone, 10x it, but not everyone is meant to do that. Not everyone is capable of doing that. So you got to make sure that you're careful with that and you scale with a purpose. And then succession phase, getting ready to exit your business. What you build a legacy through your life's work, or you want to, sell it back to the employees, or hand it off to the next generation. Like, what does that look like? And how can we help you do that part of it, right? Because not everyone understands, so we're working with another company the other day we really went through succession planning, and we said, okay, if you're at a point in your business where it's viable, it's probably not going to scale any higher than it is, but it's a good, efficient company. But what's next for you? Are you wanting to step out of that business and create another business? Are you wanting to buy business? Like, what's next for you? So we really did a good discovery day with them, and really dug into that and talked about that. So those are the 5 phases of business. And then I know the second part of your question, I believe, is why is it important to know?
Yeah. So before we go there, I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, just
Yeah.
for the benefit of our followers. So first is the startup phase. Secondly is second perseverance. Then you have viability. Then you have scale, and then you have succession.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Those are the 5 phases of business. I know people are taking notes, so hopefully now you can solidify your notes. So now let's talk about, as an entrepreneur, why do I need to know which phase I'm in?
Yeah. So it's very important to know what phase you're in, because it depends on the path you take or the advice you get, right? If I was in the startup phase and all I did was listen to some of these, big influencers that have built these big businesses, it's great advice. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great advice, but it might not apply to where I'm at. And that's what we really want you to get focused on, is to understand like the advice that you're getting and what phase of business you're in. Because we really, we talk about, we have a software solution, we have a partnership that we literally just announced right before you got on the show. Right before I got on the show, we just partnered with a company called 90.io for project management software. But that not everyone needs that immediately. If you can afford it, great. But there's different things that need to happen systematically, and we have some assessments and things like that to make sure that you're growing correctly. Because the last thing you want to do, I tell the story to kind of tie it home. I can't remember, if it's a true story or not, but it's a great story, a great illustration, and I don't remember where I heard it from. But there was an architect, a young architect, just got his degree, and he was in a big city, and he was wanting to make a name for himself, right? So he found a company that was looking to build a library. He's like, oh man, I can do this. They're looking for it to be economical, so they're like, you know what, we'll hire you. So he poured a lot of time and effort into making sure like everything was perfect. He wanted it to look great architecturally, and he drew up all these amazing plans, and they built it, and it was a beautiful, beautiful building. And a couple months into it, after they started using it, the building started to sink a little bit. And they're like, oh, it's probably settling. The foundation, it's probably starting to settle a little bit. But over the course of a year, it sunk well over a foot. And they couldn't figure out like what in the world's going on? Why is this building sinking? Again, great successful building. It's beautiful, and it's serving its purpose. It's got libraries, people coming in and out. Like it's going great. Well, what they found out is they went back and looked through all the plans, and when they poured the foundation, did the calculations for the foundation, they forgot to account for the weight of the books. So they built this beautiful building, like looked at it and did everything they thought that was right, but they didn't count for the weight of the books, and that building was slowly sinking and sinking. And they had to rebuild it, because and I tie that back into our 5 phases of business. Tie that back into businesses, because we can really look like for a year or for a short period of time, man, we're very successful. But if you don't build it right, eventually that foundation's not going to hold, and you're gonna, if you're lucky, you're going to be able to, you'll get some advice and get with somebody that can help you shore it up. And there's ways, dig around it and help really shore it up. That's going to be pretty expensive, or you're going to lose it all and have to rebuild it. So that's why it's important to understand what phases of business you're in, and understanding the advice you're getting from a person, that's, outside of Empire, but understanding the advice that you're getting from them. And does this apply to where I'm at today? Does this apply to the phase of business that I'm in?
Man, let me tell you, that's a great story. Matter of fact, Jim, I may have to borrow it from you. And
I borrowed it from somebody else that I'm not even, I wish I could give you credit, but I honestly, I don't remember if it was a podcast or where I got it.
Just tweak it a little bit, Eric.
Yeah.
Just tweak it. Okay.
Just tweak it a little bit. So you gotta just tweak it.
Yeah.
It's change up a couple of details here and there.
That's it.
And those of you, if you're, as you're listening right now, if you're listening to this episode, then you hear me tell this story, just pretend like you're hearing it for the first time.
Heard,
right?
Yeah.
Just go with it, right?
First time, go with it.
Don't call me out.
You have my permission. Use it as much as you can, because it's a really good illustration. It really is.
It is. No,
he's gonna put it in.
Point.
Somebody's gonna put it in the chat. That's Jim Tannehill's story, Eric. Get your own material.
Stop stealing twigs. That was Jim Tannehill.
Right.
But no, I mean, I think that makes a great point, that you really have to build it right.
Yeah.
Because it'll come back. And a lot of times we go past some of those little details.
Yep.
Right. And that's why it helps to have a system, a framework, somebody that has already been to the end and knows what that looks like, giving you guidance. So you're not, missing that little detail about the book weight. No, I thought that's an outstanding story. And hopefully our entrepreneurs that are listening were paying close attention there. So now let's talk about some of the hidden secrets. I mean, you've helped people to grow 7 figures, 6 figures plus, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
What are some of the hidden secrets to growing to that level?
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite ones. So we talk about, how do you build an empire? By laying one brick at a time. So this is another, I love this story. Our CEO, this is his story. He tells it way better than I'm going to, and I'm going to condense it a little bit to make sure that we fit everything in. So and this really is the secret. Like, this is the secret sauce. Besides the 5 phases, which we just talked about, understanding a phase of business in, this is the next level, like, secret sauce that has made us successful and helped make Eddie successful. So he was in Newark, New Jersey, and right across the river is Manhattan, New York. And he's trying to figure out, how do I get over there? Why is it like, why am I stuck in Newark? Like, this is not a very, very great place for me. And I look across the river, I see Manhattan, I see all these, nice buildings and all that. So he started, he picked up a coffee table book and saw that Newark was originally founded and to be the center of Western commerce in the Western Hemisphere. And he's like, well, obviously they missed the mark because that's Manhattan and it's not Newark. So he did some research, and what we found out is they were both building their cities at the same time. Actually, Newark had a head start. But what Newark decided to do is they're like, we're going to be very particular about the products we bring in. We're going to outsource things from overseas. We want this to be a beautiful place, and we want this to be the center of Western of business in the Western Hemisphere. Well, right down the river from both of them was a brick factory that produced these orangish, yellowish bricks. And if you go down to the Hell's Kitchen part of Manhattan, you can still see the original bricks. So Manhattan said, you know what? We don't care about those materials. We just want to build our city up. And what happened was Newark was focused on the other things. Manhattan was just building their city with these bricks. Manhattan crushed them. And Newark's banks were set up for all the ships and all the shipping and all that. Manhattan had to dredge their banks. Like, they had to make a lot of other accommodations, but it's because they focused on their brick. And that's what makes people successful is, again, tying it back to that story, is there's a lot of other shiny objects and things that you can do. But if you focus on that brick, it'll cause mass acceleration. We talk about, when you see a river and say the banks are the river's 100 feet wide, and it's got a pretty good current going, but you can't really tell, right? Because it's such a wide river, it looks like it's just flowing calmly. But when those banks shrink and they tighten up, man, you see that mass acceleration, that water is just flowing through. And that's what we look to do. And that's what our operating system does, is we find that point of mass acceleration to help you grow efficiently and effectively. And that's the secret sauce, is by identifying what your brick is and then building everything off of it. And I'll give you a little bit more on that. To help find your brick is an exercise we call SIPOC. Stands for supply, input, process, output, customer. And what we're doing is we're mapping that customer journey to kind of see where your brick is. Usually your brick lies in between the input and the process. And we say, it's when your solution as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, is where your solution meets that customer's problem. And that's where your brick is. And if you focus on that's your, preeminating KPI, like the most important thing. Where you build your company and everything, your structure off of that, it just causes mass acceleration and allows you to grow very, very quickly, but very systematically, to where you can handle that growth too.
So can you give us some common examples of bricks that you've seen?
So, I don't know, your listeners, I don't know what the diversity is between the different verticals, but, for a real estate investor, if you're out there trying to acquire properties, so your SIPOC, your supply is your leads, where they coming from. Input is your qualification. They've got to go through they've got to own a house, right? They've got to be willing to sell the house. So then your brick there, so between your qualification and your process, is offers made, right? Contracts made, because that's where your solution, hey, you might be up against foreclosure, your house might be going up to auction. Here's my solution to your problem. And that's, so if you're a real estate investment company, you really focus and dial in on that, and then everything else builds around it. Because now, if I'm the sales guy, I'm going to go look upstream at me and say, hey, marketing, you better make sure these leads that are qualified, that we say are qualified, I should be converting at a higher rate, because they weren't qualified. This person didn't own the house, they were renting. And it really just makes everybody so focused and dialed in on everything, because it holds everyone kind of accountable. Because you look upstream at marketing, and then once you get it under contract, now, if you have a dispo department, your dispositions, how you get rid of that property, if you're wholesaling it, well, hey, I believe in this deal. Like, I signed this deal. Why can't you get rid of it? Like, what's going on? What am I missing? It allows them all to kind of communicate and focus on that. And it doesn't mean, obviously, that acquisitions guy, that doesn't mean his job is the most important. It means everybody's job is equally as important, because if he believes in that house, if he believes in the contract that he signed, well, then Dispo better believe in it too and better figure out how to move it, and so on and so forth, above and below. So that's what that really does. Eddie owns a coffee shop, and his brick is hot cups of coffee uh, served, and that's either given out to the public, going out and giving it, at different sponsoring different events, or sold, because they know, and the reason his is cups of coffee served is because he serves A grade coffee, which is like 2% of the world get to experience A grade cups of coffee. I I work with this business, so I'm a little bit of a nerd about the coffee facts now. But Starbucks, Dunkin', their grades are C or below. They usually serve you like C grade coffee. He serves A grade, so that's why his brick is cups of coffee served, because he knows if he can get somebody to experience that A grade cup of coffee, they're gonna come back and they're gonna order more. Like that opens the door to the different lattes, the teas, the bakery baked goods, all that. So they focus on that and they watch their business grow. So there's a couple examples of a brick, but there's an exercise that we do called SciPoc, where we map that out and we really look to define that there. And that's how you find your brick.
I would imagine it's a challenge. It's probably challenging for a business owner on their own to figure out what their brick is.
Yeah. Yeah, it usually is, and again, the role that we play, as a COO and also as a coach, is we sit there and we press and we ask questions and we listen, because we want to make sure, because the wrong emphasis on your brick, you pick the wrong brick, and you're not going to see that mass acceleration, right? You pick something upstream or downstream of that river, and it might not cause that mass acceleration like you're looking for. So it's very important to kind of really take the time to go through the exercise, whether it's with us or whether you go online, whatever, but take that time to map out that customer journey and really understand where that brick is.
No, I think that's great, and I agree. I mean, once you find that thing, yeah, just
Yep.
things can take off
Yeah.
and get to that next level. So answer this question for me. So some people they accelerate. I mean, they start. We've had people on the podcast, right, that started the business and within 6 months they're high six figures,
Yeah.
right? And that's not the typical journey for your startup entrepreneur. Why do we see that difference? Why do some people just take off like a rocket and other people, it feels like they're doing the right things, but they don't make that type of progress?
Yeah, so it's again, I'll tie that back into like the incorrect focus on the wrong thing at the wrong phase of business. Just really got to make sure who you're paying attention to, and understand the advice that they give. For a polarizing one, if you will, is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey talks about buy things all cash, and man, his programs are great for people that struggle with money management and to get you to a certain place. But you and I both know that a lot of the wealthy people, they leverage their credit, they leverage other people's money, and he kind of teaches against that, which is fine. But if you were terrible with money and you had bad credit, you probably don't want to try and go out and leverage other people's money and try and make do transactions that way, where you should probably listen to Dave Ramsey. But if you're a good entrepreneur and you're kind of set and you want to grow your business, and you need finances to do that, well, you might not want to be paying all cash for everything either. You might want to start leveraging those assets and that money. So that's part of the reason that I see, why people aren't growing as quickly as others. Another reason is there's some people that once they get to a certain level, like that's as far as they're going to go. They're going to hit their ceiling, and that's all they're meant to do, which is fine as long as you understand that. Don't try and be somebody else that you're not. We talk about the 5 phases, and I'll tie that back in real quick. We talk about the 5 phases. There are some businesses that when they get to viability, they are not meant to scale. And there are some people, when they get to viability, they are not meant to scale. Like they can't handle that stress and that pressure. And they're good with that lifestyle business to where, hey, if I'm going to earn, 6 figures a year by doing this, like, man, I'm happy as can be. So really understanding like who you are and what you're capable of. And if you think, man, my business is in viability, but I can't figure out how to grow it more, then that might be the time for you to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna sit in the owner's box and I'm gonna bring somebody in that is a visionary, that's a CEO, and they can grow that business past me. And that's again easier said than done, right? That's another thing to where if you're a good leader, you're able to recognize, hey, I am the bottleneck. I am what's limiting my company. I'm limiting my people. And if you've got great people, Once you hit that ceiling, you've got to figure out how to allow them to keep growing. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. And sometimes the hard thing to do is, hey, I'm going to sit in the owner's box. I'm going to hire a CEO, and this is going to free up time. I can go build another company. I can, enjoy my life, enjoy my family, or I can go do something else. And that's the biggest thing. Like it's a fear. It's a mind shift. Like, oh, the company's dependent on me. I built this. Yeah, you did, and you did a great job doing it. Like I'm not discounting that, but we're going to hit our ceiling at some point, and we've got to be able to understand like who we are as a person. Because not again, so those are the two reasons why I think people don't see that success is number one, they're not listening to the right advice at the right time, and number two, maybe our limiting beliefs is what's holding ourselves back and holding that company back, and we need to play a different role.
Yeah, I think listening to the right advice is critical.
Yeah.
I think that can go a long way into what you experience and what you see. So what book or books would you say have impacted the way you think about business and the way you deal with clients the most?
Oh man, one of them that helped me with my limiting beliefs is oh man, what's I just lost it. David Goggins' book.
Oh, Can't Hurt Me.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the Audible, not the paper book, the Audible, there's so much extra information in there. Like just
Uh,
that mindset shift. Like that was amazing. And then another book that I read, Who Not How. Like
mm,
understanding that if you're going to build a good business and organization, you need more people to help you do that, and not just trying to figure out, well, I'm just going to do this by myself. Again, that one really opened my eyes when I was really working with a team, to really like understand like, hey, I need to be the right person to lead these people to success. But yeah, you can't hurt me, man. If you haven't listened to the Audible book, my goodness, definitely recommend. That'll help change your mindset a little bit. And that's what we all need. We all have limiting beliefs, and I'm not going to pretend to sit here that and say that I've got it all figured out. I know that there's probably some things I still struggle with, but that one really opened my eyes to, hey, I'm limiting myself to what I can do. Like, man, so those two books were really helpful to me.
yeah. Now, Who Not How. Definitely have to check that one out. And yeah, David Goggins just
I love him.
just
He's
a
not for
crazy story.
he's not for everybody,
No.
but, but if you have the opportunity, you could put up with a little bit of a little bit of it. It'll help you like understand how powerful your mind is.
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. All right. So we're at the final segment of the show. It's called Write This Down. This is where we each go around and leave at least one idea from today's episode that we want our followers to write down so they can level up. So Jim, you're our guest of honor. What is it that the people should write down?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to our foundation is understanding your brick. Like, if there was one thing that I could get people to really understand to help grow their business efficiently, effectively, is to really dig in, spend the time, whether it's lock yourself in a room with your leadership team for an hour, whatever that time looks like, and really like understand what that is, because that is just one of the most powerful tools that you can use to help grow and scale your business.
Understand your brick.
Yeah.
No, that's great. All right, write that down. Right, Ted.
So I write that down goes back to your team, right? If you can get that, that team of advisors, that team of people that have already been there, just if you can just get some nuggets from just all of those people, I just think it can really help you. Right? So just a group of people that you can just go bounce some stuff off of. Whether they've been through it or not, they've probably been through something similar. Right. So you want to have that team of people that's on your speed dial that you can get to, that don't mind, just taking a minute here and there just to answer a question. And I'm sure as you progress, there'll be times that they'll reach out to you as well. So yeah, get your team on speed dial. Write that down.
Get your team on speed dial. That's great. Good. So my submission for write this down is the the quote from Marshall Goldsmith that we mentioned earlier: "What got you here won't get you there."
Mm,
I'm telling you. I mean, that is so key. Like, what got you here won't get you there. Even if you're talking about people, if you're talking about how you think, if you're talking about who you're associating with, you just have to look at the fact that what got you here is not going to get you to that next level, and you have to know what the next level is for you.
Yep.
Like Jim had brought out, it helps to know about the different 5 phases of business. But I just think that is a critical thing to keep in mind, and a good takeaway from this episode. And we definitely want to thank Jim Tannehill for everything he has shared.
yeah.
He's dropped so many nuggets, and I'm gonna have to just, like, for a minute I forgot like I was actually hosting, and I'm like, I'm
He's
sitting trying to listen and write
trying to get
everything.
them notes in. Trying to get them
Right.
notes in.
Yeah. So let me do this. We have an online course that retails for $12.99. I'm gonna after this podcast, I'm gonna create a code that will give you and all your listeners access for free. It's 3 to 5 hours worth of content and comes with a downloadable workbook. And again, we just want to provide value. Like I said at the beginning, if I would have known this stuff 9-10 years ago, it would have changed the trajectory of my life and entrepreneurship. So I want to gift that to you all, and thank you for allowing me to be on the show. So the code will be 30-minute hour, and I'll make sure I activate that. So it'll be the numbers 30, then minute hour, and that'll be the code. So you go to empireom.com, you go click on the course, put it in your cart, and then you apply that code 30-minute hour, and you'll have access to that content. We'll do a deeper dive into all that information. We'll hear from our CEO and our co-founder Eddie Wilson and Gary Harper. They do a great job teaching it. But I just want to make sure that go above and beyond to deliver value. Because again, I can't thank you, Eric and Ted, and all your listeners. I can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to share some of my story and to help provide value to the community.
No, that's great. We certainly appreciate the
Thank you.
offer. I mean, we'll definitely make sure we put that in the show notes, and make sure people have access to it. But yeah, now this has been a fantastic episode. Can you again just say the name of the website, or
Yep.
the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, the website is empireom.com. The best way to connect with me, email or Instagram. My email is jim@empireom.com. That's JIM@empireom.com. And then my Instagram handle is coach.jimT. So if you want to connect with me there, love interacting there. So yeah, please feel free, anybody to reach out, even if you have a quick question. Like, we want to just help deliver value and help everyone to be able to grow. If it's what you want to do to build your empire, we want to help and be part of that journey in whatever way, shape, or form you allow us to.
That's great. Again, special thank you to Jim Tannehill, who shared a lot of great stuff on our show today. And speaking of sharing, don't forget to share the show.
Share the show. Share the show. Don't just keep it to yourself. You want everybody to know about the empire. Share it.
Exactly. Make sure you share the show, and don't forget to go back to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and listen to the replay of this episode. Thank you again to Jim Tannehill for sharing everything he shared. And until next time, have a great one.